The first sound anyone noticed was not the alarm. It was the breathing. It came through the open maintenance corridor like a slow mechanical fault, too steady to be panic, too deep to be ambient circulation. The corridor lights dimmed to emergency amber as the station's automated system struggled to reconcile a biological presence, with a zone officially listed as non-viable for carbon-based life. By the time security arrived, the breathing had already stopped. They found the human sitting against the bulkhead, helmet off, hands resting on his knees as if in meditation. His pulse was low. His skin was pale but intact. The corridor's atmosphere was thin enough to blister most registered species within seconds. The human had been there for 17 minutes. No one said anything. They simply logged the incident as a sensor error and quietly updated the hazard map. That was the first revision. The Arx-Alios Institute was not a school in the sentimental sense. It did not teach. It sorted. Built along the inner rim of a blue-white star, the Institute existed to evaluate emerging species for inclusion in joint research, strategic defense, or long-term containment. Its architecture reflected its purpose. Lead environments calibrated to different physiologies, corridors that subtly favored certain postures, lighting spectra tuned to dominant visual ranges. Humans had been classified as low-risk exploratory mammals from a marginal death world. Their entry into the Institute was administrative, not urgent. A courtesy extended after first contact data suggested adaptability, but limited threat projection. The human assigned to Cohort 12 was designated Elias Rook. He arrived without ceremony. No entourage. No banners. No protestations of capability. He wore the standard environmental uniform issued to his classification, despite the fact that it fit poorly. The sleeves ended short of his wrists. The boots were too narrow. The fabric was designed for exothermic skin, not something that sweated. He did not complain. During intake, the registrar, a tall, iridescent Keth observer named Esalen, paused over his file longer than protocol required. Death World Index confirmed, she said, her voice layered with harmonic undertones. Gravity variance, atmospheric volatility, microbial hostility. Yet your species shows no exoskeletal reinforcement. Elias Rook met her multifaceted gaze without challenge. Correct. No adaptive implants. No. No protective symbiotes. No. S.A. Elin tilted her head. Curious. It was not mockery. It was academic dismissal. She waved him through. The first to openly mock him was Leraith. She was a second cycle Thren, her species prized for neural elasticity and predictive modeling. Her skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with mood and emphasis. She had already published 3 papers despite her age and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to being correct. Humans intrigued her in the way outdated machinery did. Functional, perhaps, but obsolete. They were assigned adjacent workstations in the Institute's peripheral cognition lab. The lab was designed to test cooperative processing across species, a neutral environment stripped of unnecessary stimuli. Neutral, however, was relative. The oxygen concentration was lower than Earth norm. The light flickered at a frequency slightly disorienting to human vision. The floor vibrated with subsonic harmonics that aided Thren focus but induced mild vertigo in most mammals. Elias adjusted his stance. That was all. Leraith observed him for several cycles before speaking. You are compensating manually, she said. Most low-risk species request environmental modification within minutes. Elias did not look at her. I'm fine. She let her bioluminescence flare in what passed for a smile. Your species' confidence is disproportionate to its statistical survivability. He said nothing. They worked in silence until the first protocol divergence. The task was simple on its surface, a distributed analysis of a simulated stellar collapse, requiring participants to allocate cognitive resources across multiple abstraction layers. The Institute favored this task because it exposed not raw intelligence, but how species prioritized information under strain. The system fed data faster than comfort allowed. Leraith's neural crest pulsed as she entered predictive cascade mode, her species' hallmark. She spoke aloud, annotating probabilities, adjusting parameters. Elias typed slowly. She noticed his respiration had changed. Slower. Deeper. You are falling behind, she remarked. Your processing speed is insufficient. He did not respond. She leaned closer, peering at his display. His interface was set to base visual. No predictive overlays, no assistance algorithms. You are choosing not to accelerate, she said, incredulous. Why? He paused, fingers hovering. Acceleration introduces noise. That is the point, she countered. You filter. He resumed typing. Later. Their combined output reached the system threshold with seconds to spare. When results posted, the Institute flagged an anomaly. The solution vector showed minimal error variance. Not optimal. Minimal. Sailin reviewed the data twice. Who constrained the collapse variables, she asked. Leraith answered automatically. I did not. All eyes turned to the human. Elias shrugged once. It was going to fail asymmetrically. How could you know? Leraith demanded. The system introduces stochastic perturbations. Yes, he said. After the third iteration. She stared at him, bioluminescence dimming. That is statistically improbable. He met her gaze for the first time. So is survival. It was the first time she felt irritation. The Institute did not revise classifications based on one anomaly. It revised them after the second. That came during the containment audit. Once per cycle, all cohorts were required to participate in a facility-wide procedural exercise. Not a drill. A live audit of emergency protocols, designed to test institutional resilience rather than individual heroics. This cycle's audit involved a simulated breach in the xenobiology wing. Simulated, in Institute terms, meant real systems under constrained parameters. Containment fields would fluctuate. Automated responses would lag by design. Participants were expected to follow posted protocols exactly, reporting deviations and evacuating when instructed. Deviation was failure. Elias was assigned to Data Corridor C, a transit spine connecting research modules. His role was observational. Log environmental changes. Do not intervene. Leraith was assigned to predictive oversight, monitoring system responses and advising command. The breach began as expected. Pressure differentials. Alarm tones calibrated to species hearing ranges. The corridor lights shifted to emergency spectra. Elias logged timestamps. Then the system hesitated. A containment field flickered longer than parameters allowed. Not enough to trigger alarms. Enough to matter. Behind the field, something moved. It was not part of the simulation. The xenobiology wing housed dormant specimens collected from non-sentient worlds. Most were inert under Institute conditions. This one was not. Elias felt it before he saw it. A change in air density. A vibration through the soles of his boots that did not match the alarm harmonics. He stepped closer to the field. Protocol said retreat. He did not. On the oversight deck, Leraith frowned. Data Corridor C shows a regular biosignature, she reported. System flags it as residual. Residuals were common in simulations. Data ghosts from previous runs. Advise ignore, command responded. Leraith hesitated. The pattern did not fit residual decay curves. She pulled up Elias's feed. He was standing within 2 meters of the containment field, helmet still clipped at his belt. What is he doing? She asked. He is low risk, command replied. Observe only. The field collapsed. Not catastrophically. Cleanly. As if something had learned its rhythm. The organism emerged like a folding shadow, its form undefined by standard geometry. It did not attack immediately. It oriented. Elias did not move. He inhaled slowly. The organism advanced. On the oversight deck, Leraith's bioluminescence flared in alarm. Command, this is not simulated, she said. Recommend immediate hard seal. Negative, came the reply. Audit parameters, Elias moved. Not fast. Precisely. He stepped into the organism's path, adjusting his posture by degrees. When it lunged, he did not evade. He let it pass, turning with it, one hand braced against the corridor wall. The organism struck the bulkhead, its mass deforming against alloy rated for meteor impacts. The corridor shook. Elias exhaled. He reached out and touched the organism. Not a strike. A placement. His palm pressed against a region that was neither head nor limb. His fingers spread, finding resistance where none should exist. He leaned in. The organism convulsed. Sensors spiked. On the oversight deck, alarms cascaded. "What is he doing?" someone whispered. Leraith watched, transfixed. The organism collapsed inward, its structure destabilizing as if forced into a configuration it could not sustain. It did not die explosively. It folded, imploding into a dense knot that fell inert to the floor. Elias stepped back. He retrieved his helmet and put it on. Then he resumed logging. The Institute went silent. Not metaphorically. Literally. Command channels closed. Oversight feeds froze. Automated systems entered a fail-safe state reserved for existential threats. S.A. Elon stood alone in the registrar's chamber, reviewing footage frame by frame. The human had violated protocol. He had not panicked. He had not sought assistance. He had not displayed aggression. He had intervened. Quietly. The organism species designation updated itself in the system, reclassifying based on observed interaction. Unknown. Potentially adaptive. High risk. The system then attempted to update the human classification. It failed. The parameters did not exist. Elias was summoned. Not to a tribunal. To a conference. The room was larger than necessary, designed to accommodate species that occupied more dimensions than space allowed. Elias stood at its center, hands clasped behind his back. Leraith was present, her posture rigid. S.A. Elin addressed him. "You deviated from protocol." "Yes." "You engaged an unclassified organism." "Yes." "You neutralized it." "Yes." "No defensiveness. No pride. Why?" S.A. Elin asked. Elias considered. "It was learning." A ripple passed through the chamber. "Learning what?" Leraith demanded. Elias turned to her. "The system. The delays. The thresholds." "And you?" she asked. "What was it learning from you?" He met her gaze, steady. "How long it had?" Silence. S.A. Elin folded her hands. "Your species was classified as low risk." "Yes." "That classification is under review." Elias nodded. Leraith's bioluminescence dimmed to a soft, uncertain glow. "You never said anything," she said quietly, "about what you could do." He looked at her, not unkindly. "You never asked." The revisions came quietly. Environmental parameters adjusted. Not for comfort. For safety. Human access corridors widened by millimeters. Materials upgraded without announcement. Protocols rewritten to include a new variable, unclassified resilience. No proclamations were made. But when new cohorts arrived, they were briefed differently. Humans, S.A. Elin would say, her tone neutral, are not aggressive. They do not seek dominance. They will not explain themselves. She would pause. And if one of them steps forward during a procedure, you should let them. In the cognition lab, Leraith worked beside Elias in silence. She no longer mocked. She watched. And when she spoke, her words were careful. Once, she asked, "Does it bother you? Being underestimated?" Elias did not look up. "No." "Why not?" He finished his entry, then replied, "It keeps the noise down." Outside the viewport, the star fled. Its radiation filtered through layers of shielding designed by species who now understood, just a little, what it meant to share space with something that endured without announcement. The Institute did not declare humanity dangerous. It simply stopped calling them safe. And in that quiet redefinition, everything changed.